We are officially talking November football tonight here on Midwest Sportsnet. I know it's still October, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Technical difficulties occasionally are the way it goes sometimes, so we'll get right on through that and past. Hey, listen, thanks for watching here on this October 31st. That is right, and we are again going to be talking about November football tonight. So let's go ahead and preview week 10. And if you're watching the live show tonight, I encourage you to go ahead and let us know from where you're watching in the chat. And maybe tell us who your favorite team is. We appreciate that here on a Thursday night. Some of you all are still out and about with your families, and that's okay. I get that. There's a lot going on. So enjoy that. I bought lots of chocolate and brought it home to my family as well, so they're all happy. Hopefully that'll work out well for them and for everybody. Okay. Live stream is going. We're just making sure that is up and good to go all the way around. Again, thanks for watching. Let's move on into the month of November. And we get started with the number one team in the country. Hi, Dale. Thanks for stopping by tonight. Glad you're on the broadcast with us. Feel free, everyone, to let us know again who your favorite teams are and all that's going on. All right, top team in the country. I think we've gotten through all the technical difficulties. Kaiser is 6-0 and showing no signs of stopping. The Seahawks have won just all the way through this season. 7-0 all time in this series, by the way, with Weber International. The Warriors are coming into this game actually looking pretty solid, and they're going to be playing this one at home. But Kaiser just has been a force, and so we're going to take Kaiser in this one. Sorry. All of the technical difficulties don't always happen on the computer, but we're getting with that. We're going to go ahead and take Kaiser in this one. 8th meeting between the two. We think that Kaiser will remain undefeated over the course of this season, to this point at least, even on the road. 7-0 all time. We think they're going to go to 7-0 on the season. So number one, Kaiser against Weber International. All right, we're going to do one thing here really quickly, and let's see if I can make this happen. Okay, there we go. I think we have it done now. Sorry about that, folks. A couple minutes in, we'll get it going from there. Thanks for continuing to be with us here on this Thursday night live. Let's go ahead and move on along. St. Thomas is the number 5 team in the country. And if you missed our broadcast last night on potential playoff teams, we think St. Thomas is a potential playoff team, win or lose in the Sun Conference. But the Bobcats still have an opportunity. St. Thomas coming into this competition against Southeastern in a top 20 matchup between the two. 1 loss in conference play. The Fire also 1 loss in conference play. St. Thomas has Rontavious Farmer, who has 114.3 rushing yards per game. That's good enough for 6th in the NAIA. And as we mentioned last week, with his rushing total last week, has just shy of 5,000 rushing yards for his career. He is the all-time leader in Florida collegiate rushing, all-time leader. He is the king. St. Thomas also led by David Hayes, who has 121 receiving yards per game, good enough for 4th in the NAIA, and 10 receiving touchdowns as well. That's tied for 2nd in the NAIA. The offense is there for St. Thomas. However, we think the defense is going to be there for Southeastern in this one. Playing at home there in Victory Stadium in Lakeland, Florida, we are going to go with what on paper would be an upset. So we're taking Southeastern in this one over St. Thomas. Now, not to take away with what St. Thomas can do, but we still believe in their chances to make the playoffs in this one. Southeastern realistically needs this just a little bit more. So Southeastern at home against St. Thomas, we're taking the Fire in this one. All right, moving on along, staying with the Sun Conference. Thomas on the road at Florida Memorial. Florida Memorial with an outside chance, still with an opportunity to win the conference championship. 4-2-1 on the season, 2nd all-time meeting between the two, and Florida Memorial won last year. We think that will continue, so we're picking Florida Memorial in this one. Warner 0-5. Ave Maria 2-5 on the year. This is the 12th meeting between the two. Ave Maria 6-5 all time, won by 12 last year. this game, Warner trying to get that first win of the season. We don't think it's going to happen. We believe that the Gyrenes are going to win at home in this one. That is the Midwest Sportsnet pick. Moving over to the Appalachian Conference, as we have Pikeville and Point. Now, for Pikeville, the magic number is 1. A victory in this game, and Pikeville will secure the conference championship outright, and then also have an opportunity to go to the playoffs. So that playoff spot is literally on the line in this one on a November 2nd game, Pikeville on the road at Point. And Pikeville has a lot of offense at its disposal for Coach Phipps. Pikeville 3-2 all-time in the series, won last year 42-31. Last week defeated St. Andrews. Pikeville led by Lee Kirkland, who's putting up 309 passing yards per game. That's 4th in the NAIA. 22 passing touchdowns. That's good enough for 10th in the NAIA. And Amon Williams, 131.9 rushing yards per game. That leads the country in NAIA football. We're saying no doubt Pikeville as the Bears roll to victory and take that playoff spot on November 2nd. Reinhardt, Bluefield, in essence, playing for second place in this one. Pikeville has victories over both of them. Reinhardt 4-4, Bluefield 3-5, both 2-1 in conference. The 10th meeting all time between the two. Reinhardt has won all 9 prior to this one, including a 70-27 victory in the season finale last year. We're going to say Reinhardt goes to 10-0 all time in this series. We're picking the Eagles over the Rams in this one. St. Andrews 0-6, Kentucky Christian 1-7. Really, a losing streak has to stop in this one. St. Andrews lost to Reinhardt last week 63-0, and the Knights have lost 21 consecutive games. Kentucky Christian lost to Union Commonwealth and had opportunities. The Knights were there. The Kentucky Christian Knights, that is, were there. Knights are going to win. Knights are going to lose. Kentucky Christians lost 7 straight. Somebody has to get that losing streak to an end. We think it's going to be Kentucky Christian at home. Cumberland's on the road at number 13, Georgetown. Georgetown leading the way in the Mid-South Conference. Now, we've talked about this before. This conference has been just a bit of a mess throughout the course of the season. Georgetown undefeated, the only team undefeated in conference play. 5-2, 3-0 overall. Georgetown needs to win the conference to get that playoff spot. Another loss, and it would be a really, really tough outlook for the Tigers. Not, again, to say, as we said last night, that they can't do it, but a 3-loss Georgetown team, that would be a challenge looking into the playoffs. Georgetown, they are taking on Cumberland's, and this is the most often played opponent for Georgetown. 38th meeting between the two. Georgetown 30-7 all time, won last year 31-17. Cumberland's coming off a loss to Cumberland last week. Georgetown defeated Bethel, and the Tigers of Georgetown have won 4 straight, led by Darius Neal with 120.1 rushing yards per game. That is tied for 4th in the NAIA. We're going to go with Georgetown, and we're taking the Tigers in orange and black in this one. Moving on along, we talked about Cumberland coming off a win last week at home now against Lindsey Wilson, the number 22 team in the country. The Phoenix are 6-2, 2-2 in Mid-South play. Lindsey Wilson on the edge of that playoff bubble, 2-1 in Mid-South play, 4-2 overall. Lindsey Wilson needs to win out to stay in contention for a playoff spot, and it's not going to be easy, by the way, for the Blue Raiders. 13th meeting between these two programs. Blue Raiders 8-4 all time and won 45-2 last year. But we are taking Cumberland at home. We think the Phoenix have what it takes to get things done there at home. We are going with the ranked team in this one, not just because it's ranked, not rated, not just because it's ranked, but we're going to go ahead and go with Cumberland at home. Campbellsville 7-1, defeated Faulkner to get back on the winning track last week on the road, taking on the Wildcats of Bethel. Bethel, tough loss last week, and it brought them to 1-2 in conference play, 5-2 overall. 21st meeting between these two schools. Bethel owns an 11-9 record all time. We're going with Campbellsville on the road. Gillis, we believe in what he's doing, and we see a lot there. So Campbellsville trying to continue that, pick up its 8th win of the season. Let's go into the Mid-States Football Association. Let's start with Indiana Wesleyan, the number 3 team in the country, coming off a bye week last week, and they'll be hosting Concordia. Now, the Cardinals are 4-1 all-time in this series. We realize this is the final season for Cardinal athletics there in Ann Arbor, but not a problem for Concordia. It's a team that has gotten to 4-4 on the season, 2-0 in Mid-East play. Indiana Wesleyan also 2-0 in divisional play. Winner of this one has the upper hand and can take it all the way home. Concordia in its final season could get a playoff spot, but they're going to have to do it on the road against a very, very tough Indiana Wesleyan team, number 3 in the country. Some people have given them votes to be the number 1 ranked team in the country as well. Concordia defeated Siena Heights last week, and it was all field goals all the time, 9-0. Indiana Wesleyan defeated Taylor 2 weeks ago, 56-7. Ryan Whitwell leads the way. 951 rushing yards on the year, looking to crack that 1,000-yard mark this week, 120.1 per game, and that is good enough for a tie for 4th place in the NAIA. We're going to take Indiana Wesleyan at home in this, although I'm sure that there are a lot of folks that would like to go with Concordia. I mean, it's kind of one of those sentimental picks that you want to make that run in your final season. And if they do, props to them. And history is on the Cardinals' side again, having won 4 of 5 meetings between these two all time. Madonna is 0-8, and realistically right now, Madonna is, it's 0 for its last 38. Lost 38 consecutive contests at Lawrence Tech, and the Blue Devils have lost 3 straight, including losing to Taylor last week, 48-30. It was the season finale last year in which Lawrence Tech won 66-21. The Blue Devils 3-0 all-time in this series, and the Midwest Sportsnet pick is that Lawrence Tech goes 4-0 all-time in the series. Defiance in its first year in the NAIA, coming off of Division III. Lots of Division III teams on the schedule. Defiance goes back to taking on a Mid-States team again, which it's in the Mid-States Conference, but just scheduling issues all the way through in the transition. 23rd meeting, though, between these two schools. Taylor is 13-9 all time. And Taylor, by the way, coming off a big victory over Lawrence Tech last week, led by Jamison Chesser, 110.6 rushing yards per game, 8th in the NAI. He has 15 rushing touchdowns. And Avon Jones, 101 tackles. That's tops in the NAI this season. 12.6 tackles per game, also at the top. Defiance, Tawan Rome coming off a big game last week as well. We're going to take Taylor at home in this one. By the way, Defiance College launching a powerlifting program for 25-26. So that would be something that some of these athletes on the football team might cross over into that just a little bit when they're not competing on the gridiron. St. Francis taking on St. Francis. Midwest divisional matchup. We think these two, and they are, according to their record, both 2-0 in divisional play. We think that these two are the ones that really have the upper hand in the Mid-States Conference, and we'll find out which one really steps to the front. St. Francis of Illinois, 6-1, 2-0 in divisional play. 6-1 also all-time in this series is St. Francis of Indiana. They're 6-2 right now, 6-1 all-time. St. Francis, however, stopped a six-game losing streak last year with a 17-0 victory. St. Francis defeated Judson last week. St. Francis of Indiana defeated Marion last week. Each team has won 3 consecutive games. I mean, this is a very evenly matched up game. We're taking St. Francis of Illinois and the Fighting Tumultees to come away with a victory and go to 2-6 all-time in this series. They've done it earlier this year. St. Francis of Illinois had 1 win in a series as opposed to 25 losses all-time. 1 win in this series as opposed to 6 losses all-time. We're taking St. Francis of Illinois and the Fighting Saints to make it 2 wins in the series. So we'll see how that plays out. Marion, we mentioned the Knights a little bit earlier, 5-2 right now. Overall, 1-1 in divisional play, taking on St. Xavier, 4-4 in divisional play. Marion continue to roll with Jake Reichard, 124 receiving yards per game. That's third in the NAIA. They find the way to move the ball. We're picking Marion in this one. Rolling on along through the mid-states as we continue just a little bit further here. Olivet Nazarene at 4-3 overall at Judson, the fourth meeting between these two schools, and the Tigers are 3-0 all-time, having won 58-14 in 2023. We're taking Olivet Nazarene in this one. All right, we move on to the Hart Conference, and we stop just for a moment to give me a chance to take a little bit of a breather right here. We are on the air tonight. Technical problems aside, we're moving on along. I'm glad to get to have the opportunity to visit with you. I want to remind you that if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. We don't know exactly what it does for us from the vantage of the algorithm, but it does help. We believe it does help. It's encouraging. It's always something to good to see, and it's free. We also have the opportunity to join as a member, and you could do that, help support us. From that perspective, we talk about small college sports throughout the Midwest and beyond, mainly covering the NAIA and the NCAA Division II. With all of that, had a chance to watch some NCAA Division II volleyball a little bit earlier tonight. Went down the road to watch Oklahoma Baptist and Southeastern Oklahoma play, and Oklahoma Baptist had a 1-set lead when I left there a little bit earlier. So, all right, moving back then to football. Thank you, by the way, for watching us tonight, no matter where you're watching. And if you're watching this on the replay, God bless you. Thank you for watching that as well. William Penn, 3-4, taking on an undefeated Grandview team. Well, Grandview undefeated at this point in the season should be no shock to anybody at all, having won 57. That's right, 57 consecutive regular season games. All of those were Hart Conference games, not necessarily North Division games, but all of them were Hart Conference games. Grandview 3-0 in the Hart North right now, and 12-3 all-time in the series between the Vikings and the Statesmen, having won last year 35-6. We're taking the number 2 team in the country to win again. Grandview, we're picking them over William Penn in this one. Now, Grandview at this point is looking at one other team in the North, and that's Graceland. 6-2 overall, but 3-0 in Hart North play as well. Graceland, another great season, needs to keep on winning. We don't know that we really do believe here at Midwest Sportsnet, one more loss might be too many for Graceland to make it into the playoffs, even with the season that the Yellow Jackets have had. 6th meeting between Graceland and St. Ambrose. The Yellow Jackets and the Fightin' Bees, have won 3 out of 5 to this point. We think Graceland's going to tie this series up. Graceland won 31-29, but the last time these two teams met was 27 years ago in 1997. St. Ambrose lost to Grandview last week and has lost 5 straight games. Graceland defeated Culver Stockton last week, doubled up on them. Cade Ross and Gerald Monroe. Now let's talk about some numbers here really quickly. Cade Ross, 304.1 passing yards per game. That's 5th in the NAIA. 28 passing touchdowns on the season. Gerald Monroe, check this out, 1,275 receiving yards, good enough for 159.4 per game and 19 receiving touchdowns. Yards per game and receiving touchdowns are both tops in the NAIA this season. Too much Yellow Jacket offense, Fightin' Bees. I don't know that they can stop that on defense. So we're picking Graceland and Grandview both to come away with wins and both be 4-0 in divisional play, heading for a matchup in Des Moines on November 16th. Still a lot of football to be played between now and then. Hey, Dave, thanks for watching. Appreciate you coming on tonight. And let's go ahead really quickly, because you know what? If the weather has changed a little bit up there, I know you got to be making chili for Saturday. That's fine. Do that. Be ready. Looking forward to watching a lot of games and following even more on Saturday, including a big one that I know that you're going to be listening for here in just a moment. So appreciate Dale and Dave and you for being on the broadcast with us tonight. Feel free to stop by the chat. Let us know you're here. All right. Did go ahead and take the cough drop a little bit earlier. have a backup in place already. Been talking a lot. Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet, by the way, says that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. I do talk a lot, but I'm also very glad to be sitting here and talking to you right now. Long summer. Glad to be doing it. Benedictine, Mid-American Nazarene. This is one of the biggest games on the docket. And I know there's some big games out there this weekend. November 2nd is big, big, big. This one is there. 7-1 Benedictine, 7-0 Mid-America Nazarene. Both teams are undefeated in Hearth South play. Mid-America Nazarene came away with a huge victory last year, 38-31 in the season finale, which split things up three ways in the Hearth South. Benedictine, Mid-America Nazarene, Baker all getting a share of the conference title. Benedictine was the only team to go ahead. No, Baker made it into the playoffs. There we go. And Benedictine, Mid-America Nazarene, however, was on the outside looking in. Well, the Pioneers have done everything they can do to this point in time, staying undefeated on the season. Benedictine, the number 7 team in the country. The 41st meeting between these two schools. The Ravens own a 24-16 lead all time, although the Pioneers won last season. Lots of firepower on both these teams on offense. We think that Mid-America Nazarene at Olathe will be able to hold court in this one. And we're going to go ahead and pick the number 12 team in a very slight upset in this one. Mid-America Nazarene holding on to home field advantage. We talked about Baker just a moment ago, by the way. And how about the Wildcats? 6-1, still with an opportunity, still on the outside looking in. One of those two teams, Benedictine, Mid-America Nazarene, is going to have a loss after Saturday's game anyway. Baker 6-1 overall, 3-1 in divisional play, taking on Clark. The 6th meeting all time between these two schools. Wildcats own a 4-1 advantage, having won last year 45-0. Truman Julesgard back in play for the Wildcats. I don't know. Wildcats and Baker with him at the helm is a very, very strong team. Not taking away from Hegeman at all, but Julesgard at the helm makes the Wildcats a tough game to play. We're taking the number 15 team in the country, Baker, in this one. One more, actually two more from the Heart. How about this one? Culver Stockton picked up its first win a couple weeks ago, then lost to Graceland last week, 55-27. Peru State at home in Nebraska last week defeated William Woods. And man, I have a very strong cat that is trying to get out of this studio right now. And I just looked over there right now, moved a 20-pound weight. I'm impressed. Very impressed. All right. Anyway, Culver Stockton 1-7 and Peru State 5-2. 23rd meeting between the two. Peru State 16-6 all time, including a 36-0 victory over Culver Stockton in the season finale last year. We're taking Peru State to continue its dominance in the series. William Woods on the road at Central Methodist. Now, William Woods in its first season, obviously it's going to be the first meeting between these two programs. The Owls in their inaugural season already have a win. Not bad. I had thought, according to the way the schedule looked like it was working out, I had thought that might just be a little bit too tough in the Hart Conference. Already with one victory this season, and an opportunity now here against a Central Methodist team that has yet to put one in the win column this year. 1-7 Owls taking on the 0-8 Eagles. Both teams lost last week. William Woods has lost 4 straight. Central Methodist has lost 8 straight. We're taking the Owls on the road to pick up the win in this one. Coach Mendez squad, we think they're going to go to 2-7. See how that plays out. One more for the Heart. Missouri Valley 3-4 taking on Missouri Baptist 4-3. The Spartans trying to make some noise in their second year in the Heart Conference. It was a bit of a struggle last year, and last week lost to Mid-America Nazarene. Missouri Valley lost to Benedictine. Those two teams again playing this week. We think the Spartans are going to hold serve in St. Louis. So we're taking Missouri Baptist in this one. Now moving into the GPAC. Another huge matchup. This one is a big game every single year. The last decade, Northwestern and Morningside. I mean, this is must-watch TV. must-watch streaming, whatever the case may be, must-listen streaming, as the case has been for me a few times in recent years. You have to follow this game. Northwestern 6-1, Morningside 7-1, but you look at the GPAC records as well. Northwestern still 6-1. Morningside, after having lost to Benedictine in an out-of-conference game, has won 7 consecutive games. The 35th meeting between these two, Morningside owns a 24-10 record all time. However, Northwestern won 34-20 in 23. And let's go ahead and put this one up here. Dale giving us last year's forecast. Last year was the Blizzard game, and I got to see some of that after the fact. Didn't get to see it during when it was live. Got to watch some of the highlights on that one. Absolutely. The Blizzard game this year forecast is 70% chance of rain and 50-degree temperatures. And by the way, if you're out in that, no wonder Dave's making chili, because it's going to be one of those games where 50-degree temps, it's going to feel a lot colder than that if you're sitting in the rain on a day like that. That is not going to be easy as well. We do have a pick for this game, knowing a little bit about the fact coming in what the weather was going to be. Didn't know the exact there, but knew that it was probably not going to be easy for either offense on this one. Let's talk about the offense just a little bit, because Northwestern finally got its offense going a little bit last week, a little bit more, as we say. 34-7 defeating Dakota Wesleyan. Morningside coming off a victory over Dordt, where the offense, even at 31 points, you have to give Dordt some credit in keeping them in check somewhat. Morningside's won 7 consecutive games. Northwestern has made adjustments over the course of the season all year long, made adjustments here and there from the quarterback position all the way through. There have been some constants for the Red Raiders. There have also been constants for the Mustangs. And Zach Chevalier, stepping into the role last year late in the season, has done nothing to disparage Coach Ryan's decision to keep him there. 383 passing yards per game, tops in the NAIA. 30 passing touchdowns, that's also tops in the NAIA. Drew Sellen, leading receiver with 139 yards per game. That's second in the NAIA. 9 receiving touchdowns, tied for 5th in the NAIA. The weapons are there for Morningside's offense. You just have to wonder, is it going to be an air attack with weather like this? We believe that there's enough there in the tank for Morningside's offense. And by the way, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you up front, I'm going to pick Morningside in this one. Part of the reason is because we picked Morningside here. Midwest Sportsnet did on our preview show back in early August. We picked Morningside to win the GPAC this year. So I'm not taking away from that. And the Mustangs have given me no reason to take away from that. This one's just going to be a tough game. It benefits Morningside to be at home. It's going to be a big crowd. It's going to be a lot of people there. And Dale's going to take at least one bowl of chili, maybe more. But that does favor Morningside being at home for this contest. The offense there, the defense has stepped up when it needed to. And so we're taking Morningside at home over Northwestern, a top 10 matchup. I was going to say I think that Northwestern keeps it close. I think if Morningside is able to step away, and there have been some times in recent games Morningside gets an early lead, a team's able to come back a little bit. If Morningside's able to step away and keep the momentum, I think this could be something that looks big for Morningside in the end. So we're taking the number 6 team in the country at home over the number 9 team in the country on that one. Dordt on the road this week, 6-1 Dordt taking on Briar Cliff. Dordt coming off that big matchup against Morningside, losing 31-21 last week. Dordt and Briar Cliff tied at 8 games apiece all time in this series. And Dordt winning last year 49-0. Yeah, we're going to go ahead with Dordt. They right the ship. 6-1. And this is a Dordt team, by the way, that is looking ahead. I don't think they're looking past the Briar Cliff game. Let me clarify that. But looks ahead on the calendar and sees Northwestern in the future. And so Dordt still looking at not only an opportunity, a chance if Northwestern wins for Morningside to try to get back into the lead for the conference title, but even with the Morningside win, very good chance for another at-large bid. We're picking Dordt on the road at Briarcliff in this one. Go Mustangs from Jeff Cutrer. Did I say that right? I really hope I said it right. We'll go with Jeff for sure. And a Roll Stangs from Dave as well. And it's going to see Dale on Saturday. So, you know what? Can I stop there and pause? And just, if I haven't said it before, I think I have. On the short list of trips to be made, Sioux City is one of those places that's on the short list, but you still have to give me just a little bit of time. This weekend, I'm following a lot of games, but I also have twins that are seniors, and both of them last week performed in a marching band contest. This weekend, both of them are performing in a play. So that takes, I last week I took this with me and I watched, pretty much any time that we weren't marching. I'm not going to take this into the play, but when the twins graduate, man, all bets are off. And I am telling you that Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet and I, we've already been talking about it. Sioux City is on the short list of places that we're going to go. Football season, volleyball season, basketball season. I'm telling you that I know that's the place to be. And I've already got it mapped out. And it's a true story. I really do. So there we go. Have to come, especially for the Northwestern matchup. Can't wait to see that one in person, Jeff says, and I agree. It should be a big one. All right, let's stay with the GPAC for just a moment here. Hastings and Concordia. Here's one more team, by the way, that is not quite on the outside looking in just yet. Concordia can win out. Already played what some people might say is the big three in the GPAC with Dordt, Northwestern, and Morningside. Lost 2, defeated Northwestern. So those are the 2 losses. Concordia's schedule, and I know that Coach Daberco would not be saying, they're looking past anyone. We're the media. We can do that. So I'm going to say, hey, listen, if you're a fan and you're looking ahead just a little bit, it does look favorable for Concordia to be 9-2. If a lot of things go right or wrong for some teams, I don't know. So there's a right and a wrong. Every team has its ups and downs, and for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Some of those laws of the universe like that. You could be looking at a situation where there are potentially 4 teams from the GPAC. I said last night on the broadcast, I don't see 4 teams from the Frontier Conference making the playoffs. I think if Concordia wins out, it is more likely that the GPAC could have that 4th team that they're looking at. I still don't think it's going to happen, but Concordia not out of this one yet. 56 meeting between the two. Hastings owns a 37-18-1 all-time record, even though the Bulldogs won last year 44-23. Mark Arp continuing to run up and down the field. Now, don't forget about that arm of G.J. McGarvey. He's continuing to have a great season. But Mark Arp at 130 rushing yards per game, 2nd in the NAIA. It is an incredibly balanced attack for Coach Daberco's team. And the Bulldogs, we're taking them at home against Hastings. Dakota Wesleyan, 2-6. Waldorf, 0 and everything this season since making the move to the GPAC. I'll just tell you right now, we're going to go ahead and say that Waldorf continues. It's 11 straight losses for the Warriors. We're picking Dakota Wesleyan in the first meeting between these two to make it 12 consecutive losses. Mount Marty, a record season for the Lancers, 4-4 this year at home, taking on Midland. 4th meeting between the two. Midland owns a 2-1 record. Mount Marty won last year 28-21, trailed 21-7 at the half. I remember this one, trailed 28-1-7 at the half. Ken Gay last year had 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them coming in the 4th quarter. It was a 28-21 victory for Mount Marty, and we're going to go ahead and take Mount Marty at home, continuing the record season, and we're going to take the Lancers at home in this one. To the KCAC, where Evangel is coming off a big victory over Friends and can't afford to rest on its laurels even a little bit. You want to talk about a team, by the way, that has, not just a conference, but a division that has 4 teams. We talked about Morningside, Northwestern, Dordt, Concordia. How about Evangel, McPherson, Friends, and Southwestern just in the Kessinger division alone? I mean, these are some big time programs there. McPherson 7-1, Evangel 7-0. It's just the second meeting. Sorry, just the second meeting all time between the two. Evangel won last year 17-7. Bradley Myers continuing to lead a very, very strong defense. And it was the defense that made big plays in that game last week against Friends. We're going to say that Evangel at home has enough in the tank to make some big plays against McPherson. Don't want to take away from Tristan Szabo. What an arm he has, and he leads the program well. But we're going to take Evangel in a close one, another close one. That one's at home, not in Springfield. It's in Nixa. So, yeah, there we go. All right, Mason Reynolds cheering for the Fighting Saints. So we appreciate him. And let's put this one up here, Dave. Family first. Totally understand. You'd love to see when it works out. Look, guys, Dave and Dale and everyone else that comes on the chat here, Jeff for Sioux City, we will make a point of connecting once we get up there. It's going to be a year or two, but we're definitely going to make a point of that. So I appreciate you saying that too. Family does come first. And I have appreciated my family so much in recent weeks and months. I just can't even say enough about them. Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet, by the way, who did such a fantastic job of taking care of me when I really needed someone to take care of me. Bethany, 3-5 at Southwestern. The Mound Builders not out of the opportunity yet for a Kessinger division title. One loss. That one was to Friends. So much can happen in the next 3 weeks, but we're taking the Mound Builders there in Winfield. Bethany owns the all-time series lead in the two, but Southwestern won 50-19 last year, and they've won 6 straight in this series. And I think sometimes people, when there is very much recency bias is a real thing. And I'm 53, so my recency bias would go back to the 70s. Or the 80s particularly. Really, as I was a young kid, my dad watched sports. I developed a love of sports from being around him. And then in the 80s, when I was playing even more, late elementary, junior high, into high school, I'm a class of 89, just in case you were wondering there. And into the 90s too, college and early marriage years. And I actually started coaching high school in 1997 and coaching high school basketball, and did that for a number of years as well. So my recency bias would be about half a century. And probably to say, I still believe Michael Jordan's the best. I do. We could argue all day long. I'm not going to, I'm not going to change on that. Clyde Drexler is still my favorite player of all time, even though Jordan is the all-time best. But there's a recency bias in that. I think I just lost viewers from that. I watched the viewer number go down. Sorry if I did. I really apologize, but I'm just saying. My point is that in all of that, there is, I think sometimes people forget Bethany has really not looked good in recent years. The Swedes football in the last 4 or 5 years particularly has just been horrendous. Prior to even the last 2 years, and there have been some changes coming in, Coach Grossner coming in and helping to right the ship there. But you look at that and think, oh my goodness, well, yeah, Bethany, they're 3-5 overall, they're 0-2. The fact they even have 3 wins right now is to be attributed to the new coaching staff and the changes they've made. But this may or may not be. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I think Southwestern does come away though with the victory in that game. But I just encourage everybody. I mean, it's easy to have recency bias, and it's easy to think that everything that's either good or the best or whatever the case may happen may have just happened within your lifespan. And that's not the case. Or when you just started watching stuff. Dale, hey, you got a hop tonight. Thanks for being on. Elisa's going to take your place. So I appreciate it, Dale. Thank you very much. Are you a 1989 grad, by the way? Are you a class of 89er? Dale, if you say before you hop, let me know. 1989 was a great year. Really was. 80s were that was good music, and I know there's recency bias in that too, but that's all right. Got to get talking about football. I'm sorry, I got off the subject just a little bit, but Elise is going to take Dale's place tonight as she's just hopping on. Thanks for being there as she's been chasing some trick-or-treaters. Bethel and Friends. This is a big-time matchup, and there was I have to tell all my friends And Bethel viewers, man, I was really, the plans were to be at this game before some things changed this fall. And so I was going to be at this game in particular. I know it's a big time matchup between the two. I was there 2 years ago when Friends in Bethel played in an early September game that was chilly and rainy. I can't believe it was that cool and downright cold in Wichita on an early September night, but it was. Friends 7-1. We think the Falcons rebound, and we're going to take the Falcons in this one. Finally, over to the Bissell Division. Ottawa at 1-7. Avila at 1-7. Avila, this is the seventh meeting between the two. Avila's 5-1 all time. Ottawa won last year, which really assisted in getting the Braves into the playoffs. Had to get that divisional win. We are going to be taking the Braves at home to right the ship. One win in the last two contests. Avila won the first one, lost 7 straight since then. We're taking Ottawa at home in that one. Tabor, Kansas Wesleyan. This one could be for the Bissell title. This is between two teams then that are 4-4 overall, but more importantly, 2-0 in divisional play. 56 meeting between the two. Kansas Wesleyan 36-19 all time. Shut out Tabor last year, 31-0. We don't think it's going to be a shutout, but we are taking the Coyotes at home in this one in Salina. And Sterling 1-6, St. Mary 1-7, St. Mary 1-6. 24th meeting between the two. Sterling 17-6 all time and won last year. We're taking Sterling. Coming off a win against Ottawa last week, we think they're going to continue that and try to make it into a win streak against St. Mary. For Dickinson, the magic number is 1. Get one more win, and just like Pikeville, Dickinson State would lock up a playoff spot. 50-27 all-time against Jamestown. 78th meeting between the two. Won 42-6 earlier this year. The Blue Hawks going on the road to take on the Jimmies there in Jamestown. We're taking Dickinson State to secure its playoff spot. Will Madler, 60.1 completion percentage for the year. That's pretty good. And Braden Zuroff, 496 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. They haven't needed him as much as you might think. And so I think that when he doesn't play for a full 4 quarters, numbers may not be what some other people's numbers are, but that's okay. We're taking Dickinson State in this one, and we are taking Mayville State, another team on the road. Valley City State owns an unbelievable record between the two. 67-20-1 all time. Mayville State won earlier this year, 61-10. We're taking Mayville State in this one to get on the winning side there on the record. Now, the final two conferences, and there's still a lot going on. This one is big. Texas College, 5-2. We could not find Westgate Christian College on the list of non-countable games, but we're going to go ahead and go with the 5-2 right there. So we're going to say 5-2 with Texas College. Texas Wesleyan, 7-0. Now, still on the soapbox there, if Texas Wesleyan wins out, we are pushing for the Rams to have a home playoff game in the first game they play, whether it is called a first-round game or a second-round game, whatever the first playoff game in which Texas Wesleyan plays in, if they win out. So, have to get a win over Texas College. That's not going to be easy. Texas College still with an opportunity in Sooner Athletic Conference play. But again, need to win out as well on that one. We're taking the Rams at home. Langston at OUAZ. Langston, this is the 7th meeting between these two schools. It's a 3-3 record between the two. On the road at number 20, OUAZ. The Spirit have won the last 6 games after losing the season opener. 3 straight games in which Ottawa of Arizona has scored at least 70 points. This is a big matchup between two quarterbacks. Torrance Bardell for Langston, Luke Giron for OUAZ. And Giron, I think, is going to have to stay in the game a little bit longer in this one. I don't think they're going to run over Langston at home quite the way that the Spirit's been running over other teams. Last year, OUAZ won big time, 68-27. We're going to go ahead and pick the Spirit at home in this one. Langston has won 4 consecutive games, really needs to win out to get a playoff spot. The chances are there for the Lions and Coach Morgan's team Our Midwest Sportsnet pick, though, is the OUAZ Spirit at home. Also in the Sooner Athletic Conference, Louisiana Christian on the road at Nelson. We're taking the Lions in this one. Nelson with a slow start, 3-4 right now. And we think that Nelson's going to win this one in Waxahachie. North American 0-8 on the year. On the road in no man's land up at Oklahoma Panhandle State University. The Aggies have made some adjustments. Still have been able to get the winning numbers against some of the tougher teams in the Sooner Athletic Conference this season. We think they're going to hold, serve, and win at home in this one. And one more from the Sooner. Arkansas Baptist has not won yet this year. I don't think they're going to win in Plainview either. Wayland Baptist moves to 4-4 on the season. Our pick is the Pioneers in this one over Arkansas Baptist and the Buffaloes. All right, final few games here on the docket and another matchup between ranked teams. How about this one? Number 8, Southern Oregon, 7-1, 4-1 in conference play. Number 21, Carroll, 6-1, undefeated in conference play. 19th meeting between the two. This series is knotted at 9 games apiece. Carroll won 21-13 back in 2023, and we are going to be going and looking at those records. Gunnar Yates, 129 rushing yards per game, third in the NAIA. Jack Perka, 461 passing yards last week alone. Big time game between the two. We're taking Carroll at home. We think Carroll continues its run with the most ridiculously backloaded schedule in the NAIA this season, and we're taking the Saints at home in this one. All right, number 4, Montana Western moved up into the top 5 and at number 4, 5-1 right now, taking on Northern on the road against MSU Northern. And just let you know up front, too much firepower for Montana Western. College of Idaho, 5-3. Tough loss last week against Carroll. College of Idaho taking on Eastern Oregon. College of Idaho has to win out to make a playoff spot. There's no doubt. College of Idaho has to win out. And even then, I still think they're going to be on the outside looking in. Tough game on the road at Eastern Oregon. We are taking College of Idaho in this one, still with the opportunity to make the playoffs. Montana Tech scoring at will in recent games. Who's will? Anyway, just realistically going off on just about anyone in their path. 6-2. It's not going to slow down against Arizona Christian there on the road in Arizona. Montana Tech, we have the Ore Diggers getting yet another win and staying alive in conference play and for that at-large bid. And finally, the first meeting between these two schools, Simpson 0-8 taking on Pacific Northwest Christian. We couldn't find Pacific Northwest Christian on the list of non-countable games either. And on top of that, it is an accredited school. So as long as they have a varsity program, they're an accredited school. This could be a countable game for Simpson in the overall record. Someone, if you know a little bit more about that one, that's fine. Ashton says, roll Saints. Well, Ashton, we picked you all tonight. We're taking your St. Francis tonight over the Indiana version of St. Francis. So let's see how this one turns out for you all. Thanks for stopping by the show tonight. And that is the end of our list. So we appreciate everyone stopping by tonight. 46 games on the docket again this week. We're going to be keeping up with, well, all of them, because that's what we do. Following along, watching on more than one. Let me see here. There we go. More than one monitor, and we have 2 or 3 TVs that we have set up around the house too. Lots of things with the family again this week. These are our final 2 at home. We have 5 kids, and our twins, Jolie and Joseph. We call him Jake for short. They're wonderful. They're wonderful children. So we're continuing to take care of family first. But you know what? We're having a lot of fun following the NAIA and more. We're actually keeping up with some Division II football too. So keep that in mind. But NAIA, 46 games on the docket. And man, I hope that we picked your team. Some of you we didn't. Sorry. Actually, well, half of you we didn't pick your team, but we tried to get everybody in there. There's just only so many teams we can pick in a given week. But Dave, by the way, thanks for watching. Ashton, Elisa, Dale, Mason, thanks for stopping by tonight, as well as Jeff. And I think that's just about it. Let me see here really quickly. Yeah, Dave reached out to Jeff. Come find us in Tailgate Row. Big games on Saturday. Morningside, Northwestern, that's a big one. Benedictine, Mid-American Nazarene, that is a big one. Southern Oregon, Carroll, that is a big one. Lots going on. St. Francis and St. Francis, that's a big one. And 2 playoff spots could be clinched on Saturday. Pikeville and Dickinson State, keep those in mind and definitely be watching that. We'll have a lot to talk about on Sunday. And who knows, not making any guarantees. There's a possibility of another video between now and then on Sunday. I want to say thanks again to everyone for watching. If you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It is free, and we would appreciate if you did that. It really does mean a lot to us. So I want to speak for Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet. She took care of some animals that made their way into the studio. I was really glad about that. I'm telling you, that cat moved to 20-pound weight. I don't know what the deal is. And maybe I should be sleeping with one eye open. I'm not sure. But thanks for watching tonight. It is a privilege. Let me say that again. I want you to know that it is a privilege to get to speak to you. I don't take these things lightly. I don't know that I ever did, but especially now, I don't take these things lightly. I look forward someday to getting to visit Dave and Dale and Jeff and everyone up at Sioux City. There are lots more places that we're looking forward to going. Olathe is a place we were going to go this year, and it just didn't work out. So next year, hopefully we'd see the new stadium there. And, lots more. There's a lot more on the way. And many places north of where I am. I've been to a lot of places just to my east and to the south of me and just north, but we're working to make it a little bit farther along. So we'll keep that in mind. But again, keep it right here on Midwest Sportsnet. Sure do appreciate you. Thank you for taking time for us tonight. God bless you. You guys be safe tonight, and we will talk more November football the next time we speak.